Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard the Tabletop Express. Tonight is a night more than any night where I need this conversation, Anthony. So I want to thank you for taking time to join me as we talk about, I think, a pretty exciting topic, which is that of a popular game called Wingspan. And this is really about if this game is for you. That's really what, Anthony, I want to hit on today. The idea of, is Wingspan going to be a game for you? We should be really clear about, by the way, the digital version of this game. I have actually not played the physical version myself. You have, right?
I have, and I've played the digital version many times as well. So I have a dual viewpoint on this.
Yeah, and I think that's hopefully the most useful part about this is that I think you can provide some really great perspective on the game in terms of having played it and how it's adapted. So let's actually just get right into it. Really, at the core, what is this game? I think is one of the first things that came to mind. And I wanted to share a perception that I had, which was, this is a game about birds. Is there really a theme here? I'm not sure what's happening. That's the from afar perspective that I had. Okay. I heard all about it. It got a lot of hype. And I said, is it really as good as people are saying? I have to tell you, first overall impressions after playing the digital game, I loved it. I really did. The gameplay was fun, simple, and we'll get into the depths of all those things. But for me, I realized very quickly why the game is called Wingspan, because every bird card has the wingspan of the bird. And so I don't want to, I don't know how much points you give it for theme. But it's pretty much, it is there with the bird. The idea of birds, you're collecting birds. And so I guess as I'm saying out loud, yeah, the theme is there. It's not as rich as other games perhaps, but it's definitely there and you feel it. But I gotta say, just overall first impression, I loved it. I really did. I have played the digital version now. And I'll say this, it was played on Steam. I've played it now 3 times. So I did the introduction and I've done the 2 regular playthroughs against easy. I did not play hard. So that's my experience. I got to ask you played the real version of the game and then you played the adaptation. What was the experience like going from the physical to the digital for you?
You know, I wasn't sure what to expect, to be honest. I don't have a whole lot of digital board game adaptation experience overall. The only things I've really tried out are Carcassonne, which is on not Steam. I forget what the platform is that that's on, and a couple other things that are really basic. You know, there's a lot going on in this game, and I think they did a really good job transferring the feel of the actual physical board game to the app. There's really good artwork in the board game. That's one of the things that really draws people to it. Like you said, like a first impression. And that artwork definitely carries over into the digital version. Obviously the cards are all different birds, but in the digital version, you know, they even made it a point to have the background of your sort of card display area resemble the board that you're using in the game. And what's cool about the digital one is you can actually change your background a little bit. So I don't know if you fooled around with that at all, but they have like different scenes in the back. So
I know there's different scenes. I only know there's different scenes because you can go to your opponent's board.
Yes, which is one of the benefits of digital too, right? Is that instead of kind of craning your neck over and trying to read upside down with your opponent has across the table, with a simple click, you can look at the other player's cards. And the reason that's relevant is because there's a lot of things in this game, things that you play or actions that you take that deal with or, you know, react or interact rather with other cards of other players. Right. There's a lot of that going on.
Well, yeah, I know there's a card, for example, that was when, for example, if you put an egg down, there's a card that if someone else on the other side puts an egg down, I get to put an egg. I've got the same type of nest. So it to me, yeah, one of the things about the digital version is that is the way it's set up, that user experience. And to me, that was really clear and easy. Once I grasped the idea of every action I had to take, credit where it's due, the tutorial in this is fantastic. I was running this on a 2015 MacBook when I played it, and it ran pretty well. I will argue when I have my newer computer, it's going to run fantastic. So I'm not thinking as much on the performance side. But if you've got a newer computer, this runs great. That's one thing I can say. I am really interested in this game in terms of digital adaptation, what they do when they put it on one of these, on iPad or something like that, because I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how they do it, in particular because most of these games in some form are on all now. And from So Myers. So I mean, Scythe is, and I actually like playing Scythe on the iPad better than Steam because there's certain things that are just better. But we're not talking about Scythe. I want to dig into a few of these really important topics around this game. And again, just to stress, we are talking about the digital version of this game. Very often, if you and I were talking about a game, we talk about setup. There is no setup here. It's doing the work for you. But let's talk about the actual gameplay for a moment. So we hit on this a little bit. And hi to Olga, who is joining us, I see.
Oh, hello, Olga.
Yes. I want to say also thank you for everyone for tuning in. I feel like today is a great day to take a break and think about board games because they take us into a great world. And in this case, the world of birds. Gameplay. Look, in my opinion, with the gameplay here, it's simple. It really is a very straightforward. It gets complicated as you go on only because you've got cards that you have to remember. And not remember, but be aware of, right? But that's nothing new. I feel like this game sets you up really well to be able to play the board game physically, but it also teaches you the game really well that you could just pop on, with a friend and play a game quite easily as well. And I think it makes it very comfortable. They also have this great piece where if I'm hovering over, it tells me what that action is, which I don't think all digital games deliver on. So props there in terms of gameplay that I gotta give them credit for.
Yeah, and like we were saying before about the interaction between cards, or like you said, certain cards that do certain things, you don't have to remember any of this stuff, right? It happens automatically for you. And I think the digital version is very good in that, it doesn't just do something for you automatically. Like, let's say someone plays a card that lets you, take a certain kind of food from the supply or whatnot. That first step will pop up and say, do this. And then you say, okay. And then if there's a second step, that's also there. Like, it's guiding you through the choices that might seem obvious to someone who's played the board game many times. But as a first timer or as someone who maybe hasn't played a lot of board games, this sort of thing might not be that, quick.
Right.
This just shows it to you. I mean, you're never looking at the screen and being like, why did that happen? You know what I mean? It's really simplified. And in this type of game, which we should say is considered what we call in board game genre an engine building game, right? Mm-hmm. In which you are usually playing cards, and a lot of those cards will let you do stuff later in a more efficient manner, right? And a lot of things sort of domino into each other. So you build up this engine to get as many points as you can. And in an engine building game, it's really nice to have things put in front of you to show you what's going on, instead of you trying to remember or think, oh, geez, what is the best move here? Not that they optimize their moves for you, but you're not going to miss out on anything really with this.
But they don't make you do it. We should stress that.
Right? Yes,
they really do not make you do it. They say, do you want to? Maybe you don't want to use that special power that you have to remove an egg.
Right.
And you don't want to remove that egg because you've got a big move planned in the next round.
Right.
Because let's think about gameplay here. Gameplay in this also is round bonuses. So you're getting the points for your cards, but you've got the round bonuses. So with a round bonus, I may not want to use that egg because, and I don't know all the round bonuses. So
they're different. They're different every game, which is cool too.
But the point is, say I wanted more eggs for a reason, because based on the next round bonus, that I'm going to think about that, and I'm going to think what I want to do. Maybe I want to have more eggs at the end of that round for some reason. So they don't make you. The thing that comes to mind with me for gameplay is it is easy to click over, as I said, to see what your opponent's doing. It's also again, I think just a user-friendly game. You get a game or two under your belt, and suddenly it's going to click.
Right.
The tutorial was good. It got me going. Then I played a game. By the end of that first game that I played solo, I said, I got this. May take longer for some who aren't gamers, but I also don't think a gamer in the most part is buying a digital version. But I think they could and pick this up. And I hope they would try this out. Honestly, if you don't want to spend the $60 retail to buy Wingspan, this is a great way to get it on your screen somewhere at least.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'd say the only thing that's not there yet, and I would be shocked if it wouldn't be someday, is the expansions there's 2 of now for the regular board game. I again would be shocked if someone wasn't already working on that, or if it wasn't about to come out at some point.
I'm sure it's in the works, because even if you go back to other games from, for example, Stonemaier, you've got Viticultures out there now. Viticulture eventually is probably going to get their expansions. People are calling for that. You've also got Scythe, which has one of the expansions out. So I'd be so shocked. I think it's just a matter of time and development and getting it right. They really did a good job with this in terms of gameplay. Before we kind of talk about even that replayability of this, I got to ask, did this convert? If you had to rate this, did this convert well for you from physical to digital?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I kind of mentioned this in one of our last videos, but I've never been a big fan of ranking things and naming favorite of XYZ, whether it's music or games or food or whatever. And just this year, in talking to people like you and a couple of my other gamer friends, it came up, hey, make a top whatever list. And I finally have come to terms with the fact that I can say Wingspan is my favorite game currently. Yeah. That might change. But it is because I will never say no to playing it. And the fact that I bought this digital version of it and played the snot out of it already, just goes to show that, yeah, it definitely satisfies the same itch for me from the regular, the board game version, for sure. Even down to the fact that they have the sound effects for certain birds, for all the birds really in the game,
and the fun facts. I mean, I loved this. I was showing this to my son. My son picked up on the gameplay immediately watching. It was really cool because he's saying, "Oh, okay, so you need to exchange a feather and a random resource," and I'm like, just looking at him like, okay, I guess you know how to play now. He's just watching me play, but he loved it because they were coming up with the bird facts. Mm-hmm. You play a bird card, and now they're reading the bird facts off the card because those are the only thing that are not physically on the card.
Right.
But I know they're on the real cards, so that was really neat. And the sounds, oh my goodness! I mean, when you talk about theme or immersion into something, they nailed it with the digital version, and I don't need to play the physical version myself to know that.
Right.
So,
right.
But let's talk about it. You hit on this. Let's talk about that replayability. So look, for me, I've played this 2-3 times. I can't speak to as much as you, but as soon as it ended, I wanted to play again, but it was dinner time. So that's a good sign. I like the idea that this game will be different every time. And to me, again, I think as we never talk about the digital version, but I think that connects as we go back into a physical version. It's obviously gonna be just as replayable. And plus, as you know, there's 2 expansions of physical version. By the way, hello to Jennifer, who I see has joined us as well.
Hello,
so, Jennifer. So yeah, for me, to me, replayable, yes, no question. I will definitely play this quite a bit, and I honestly will be waiting for the iPad version because the iPad Pro goes with me in a lot of places. So this is going to be even more portable for me than the regular computer. So I'll be very excited when that happens, and I'll probably download that immediately and play this almost as much as Scythe. It's not Scythe is my number one, so Scythe will get those plays, but this is going to get a lot of plays.
So let me ask you this. Is this the first time that you've played a digital version of a board game before playing the actual version?
No.
Okay.
The first time, Lords of Waterdeep. I played the digital version of Lords of Waterdeep 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and I love Lords of Waterdeep. I cannot complain about the process of play. I have no problem playing a game, learning it, and then doing it. But I will use Scythe to help perfect my skills of a regular version.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, this is probably the second time I've learned a game through digital.
Okay.
Yeah, probably about the second.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, you feel comfortable now that if we sat down and played the physical version, you would probably understand everything that's going on. Because
100%,
in terms of
100%
rules,
confident.
there's nothing different really at all, to be honest.
Yeah. No, 100% confident. And actually, tell you what, I will say I felt that confident that when I went to the store today, I picked up Wingspan.
I was going to ask you that. Oh man!
So that's how confident I needed a break today. I just need to get out of my house. I went there. I was exchanging something. I had money, extra money, gift card thing, and I bought Wingspan. So
awesome.
That if you need a testament to what I thought about, that's what it is. I couldn't save that. That's just the reality of the situation. So I intend on playing it quite a bit. But I like having the digital version because sometimes I'm going to just want to play it. I might want to play with you. And to me, that's a fantastic way to do it. So I'm very pro digital version of games.
There's so many benefits. I mean, there's no setup, right? You don't have to deal out cards or, divvy up pieces or things like that. And to that point, there's no cleanup either. It's the same thing. It's just finished. And I mean, this digital version is so immersive, like we were saying about the sounds and stuff, and the music is fantastic. Like I was saying before about the screen. So in the physical game of Wingspan, you have a player board that has 3 sections where you play birds. You play them in the trees, in the sort of meadow type area, and then like the wetlands, the swampy type area. And on the game digitally, you have those 3 as well. You simply kind of scroll with your mouse and you'll go to one or the other, or come back or whatnot. And there's about 4 or 5 different looking scenes, to choose from. I know around Halloween time, they even had a Halloween themed one with like a scarecrow out in the field and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure there is a wintry, Christmassy one.
There is. I
out.
saw the update. There's a wintry theme. I think the other thing we have to note about this, which I think is pretty important, is outside of the themes and outside of the sound. When I was looking at the digital version, I was also just looking at user interface of just getting in, and they make it really like it's clean. You know what I mean? It's a clean experience. The thing that I want to compare this to, and I know we'll get into our final thoughts, but there's one game I want to compare to this digitally, and I have to play it physically first before I can do that. I'll save what that one is, though you may already know what it is. But this is a fantastic iteration that, to me, people should pick up and play. And I think when you talk about these areas, again, it's really easy to click through, and you can play this with a controller, by the way, if I am not mistaken. I checked the settings. They have a controller area and a keyboard area. So, for example, I have a digital Switch controller that works with, I can plug it in through USB-C to my computer. I can use that to play. And not all games have that. So I think that's an important thing to point out with this digital version. This is going to be accessible to you via keyboard. You can do your shortcuts, or you can use a controller. So that's also, I think, very useful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree. It's very, very user-friendly. And, I don't know how many people are on the fringe of the board game hobby now that are sort of looking at games. It's, there are games that are many different price ranges. There's some very expensive games. There's some inexpensive games, and usually the components are, have a lot to do with that. But if this is a game that you have heard a lot about and you've never tried and you're not sure if you would like it, we always encourage try before you buy.
Yes.
Right? And spending, a lot less money on this digital version, but getting the whole experience is a really good entry point if you're not willing to pull the trigger on buying a full price board game at this point.
Let's actually talk about something that you're getting into real quick. Let's talk about audience. So, how do you define the audience for this? I'd love for you to lead on this, because having played both, right? Who have you played it with? Who have you introduced it to? and anyone can play this game. Again, I think we have both said this. Anyone can play these games. The games generally we're talking about, I think we feel strongly about that. But who do you think is the actual audience for this game who's going to really enjoy it?
I mean, if you're a board gamer, I think you're going to enjoy it because it's an engine building game. If you're not a board gamer, but you have any interest at all in birds or nature, this is a great gift to give somebody because it's, like I said, so immersive. And if you are someone who's a birder, as they say, and you pick up these cards and you look at these, I mean, you're going to get that feeling of when you probably got your first field guide before there was ever apps or anything like that. And you were looking, at these pictures of birds through your binoculars or whatever. And now you have each individual card is a different bird. And like you said before, the fun facts or little trivia things that are on the bottom, you're learning something as well. It's hard to pin down who the audience is for this, but I think it's easily adaptable to lots of different types of players. If you especially are not into the sort of, take that, attack your opponents kind of, this is not that game at all. But at the same time, it's not just I'm just focusing on my stuff and not worried about them, because there's a lot of interaction between the cards, right?
You're making that's what I was thinking about with this. There is not a take that, like you said, but the fact is you can't be unaware of what's happening on the other side, because when you're trying to do this, you're really thinking about, I know of a few cards in this game, and one is there's a bird that if someone else puts an egg down, I get to put an egg down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's really useful in terms of the engine of this game, because eggs are one of the costs. Now, that means interactiveness exists. You can have the ongoing conversation. And then you could talk about the birds. I think that's the thing I was thinking about this is that's pretty cool. You can kind of have this conversation. So if you do like birds or you do have that interest, certainly it's there. But I think based on what I saw, you could teach this to fairly newer to gaming. This isn't going to be the first game you show them per se, but if you have someone who's somewhat familiar with gaming, they've played a few things, I think this is still, in terms of an entry level, something you can get to the table fairly easily. And you may have to play the role of game master and help teach them. But I think after 2 or 3 plays, people can feel really comfortable with this. And I don't know from my perspective that it's going to be that hard to get 2 or 3 plays into this one, because it looks good on the table. It plays great. The theme is fun and clear, right? And you can immerse yourself in this.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, it is fairly simple and straightforward in terms of what you can do. The only thing that makes it more complicated is what any engine builder does, which is as you build your engine, there's more and more things for you to be aware of.
Right.
And that's probably the hardest learning curve. If you've never done an engine builder, which if you're new to gaming and you're listening to this, you're going to have to learn engine building per se. But there's engine building in a lot of games, so it's going to take you in the right direction where you can play a lot of other great games with engine building. So
and I mean, when you're sitting down to teach this, as many of those interactions as there might be between cards, a new player may not play optimally, right? Because they don't know all the stuff. But there's only 4 things you can do on your turn, right? You either play a bird, you either take a new bird from the display, you lay eggs, or you get food. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're willing to teach this game to someone, and I know that we are the same in this aspect, and you said kind of playing game master, I would have no problem teaching a new person and saying, all right, here's the 4 things that you could do. If you do this thing, this is going to happen. Now, remember, I've got this card that says anytime, you take a berry from the food thing, I get a berry or something like that. So do you really want to do that? Because you're going to give me food too. How much do you want that berry? And that's the stuff that I'd like to talk about when I'm teaching new games. I don't want to be like, they don't know about this one card that I can't wait.
You want it to be fun. You want it to be fun. And actually in the game, as I bend over to try to find this, it's going to be hard to see, but this is actually it shows you your first 4 turns. This comes in the box.
That's right.
This is what your first 4 turns should look like. You want to talk about setting something up. They put it in the box. They give it to you. and it shows you all the things you can do. By the way, we had a great comment I want to showcase here because it's so true. Love that cover. It's just it really is a beautiful cover.
Artwork is great.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, that the art is just stellar.
Here's the new expansion. So these are all the birds from Oceania. So New Zealand and Australia and those little other islands over there. So all new birds, and it still fits well with the base game. There's been 2 expansions. That's the second one. The first one was a European expansion. The first one really only added more birds to the game and a few more of those bonus cards and end of round goals and things like that. But the mechanics of the game did not change at all. This new one does introduce a new resource, which is nectar, which is wild and can be used to do a couple of other things. But other than that, it's all the same. My wife and I played with the expansion once so far. I liked it a lot. There's a little debate on whether or not it should be automatically combined with the base game and be played every time. It was a little new for her, but I definitely love it, and I would include it for sure.
Well, let's kind of dig into it and share what those final thoughts and our final recommendations on this game are. So for me, and again, I have the digital version, right? We're talking about the fact that I'm seeing this for the first time. For me, I just want to say it's a winner, and I went out and bought the game. So I don't know what else I need to really say. I feel like the fact that I went out and bought it almost immediately after says more than enough.
For sure, absolutely. That says everything. That says everything.
Yeah, that's literally all I can say. We've said a lot, obviously, as we discussed all this, but yeah, it's good. It is really good. I guess we'll say that I wasn't sure of it. I questioned the theme. I wasn't sure if I'd like it. I played it, and for me, the engine building was great, and that's what drew me in. But if you like birds, and if you like the idea of a great game, this is it. And I understand why you ranked it on your top 10 games played in 2020 as your number one. Makes total sense.
It got played the most, and when I counted the plays, I only counted the physical board game plays. If I counted the digital plays as well, that number probably would have been at least doubled, if not more. Like I said, just because it's so easy, you just fire it up and there it is.
Right. I will say this. I did promise this, so I should note it. The game I want to compare it to is I want to play it in person and see how I feel about digital adaptation from Raiders of North Sea to its digital adaptation, which is pure perfection, in my opinion. That's for another conversation sometime once I get you on that one. But honestly, this seems like another perfect adaptation or near perfect. So really, really strong review. It looks great. It plays great. Easy to learn. Checks all the boxes for me on a digital game.
Absolutely. If I had one complaint, and I don't know if this is probably not just me, there have been a couple times in playing online against other people that I have been kind of kicked out of the game for a moment or two. But as soon as I go back in, it's fine. It's not the game doesn't disappear or anything like that.
Right. And you're still in the same game.
Yeah, same game. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And on that fact, I'm constantly getting updates from Steam about, what updates they did to the game, where they changed this, they fixed this bug, did that. So, yeah, you can tell that this game is being supported, right? And so I expect it to only get better, and I really hope the expansions come out for this, because that'll be an instant buy for me as well.
Awesome. Well, hopefully a few other people find interest in this, want to join us for a game. If you have any questions, obviously, about the game, feel free to let us know. Anthony's going to be more of an expert on this one, but I appreciate him convincing me to make the purchase. It looks like we do have a question to bring to the table. Is digital one player or multiple? You can play online against people. Can you not? Because I know I can play against AIs, but I have not played online.
You can play against AIs and you can play against real people. When you choose to play against real people, I believe you have two options about like turn length. I believe the version I usually click into it's always a 3-player game for some reason. I guess they just think that's the sweet spot. But it's capped at 5 minutes per turn. So you have 5 minutes to do your turn, which is a lot of time if you're
That's a damn lot.
sitting in front of the computer. If we play this board game physically and it takes you 5 minutes to make your move, you're probably not going to play that game with me again. That's way too much. Unless it's your first time, that's a different story. But to go back to the question, I don't know if there is a solo mode for this on the digital version. The board game physically comes with a solo version. Do you remember seeing it on the menu?
I don't. We'll have to. You know what? We'll get back to you and we'll make sure we include it in. I know this is streaming to 2 channels. It's going over to Tabletop Express. Is going to Dadboard. So but I'll definitely make sure we address it on both channels, and we'll get the answer for that. I would
fire it up now, but it would take over the whole screen.
No, we'll double check on that. I do not know.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't, because that's, especially with Stonemaier Games, that whole solo autonomous thing is a big thing for them. So I'd be shocked if it wasn't there, to be honest.
It may or may not be, but we'll get the answer before we give that officially. Well, I will just say this. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Obviously, this is a good one. We enjoyed it. We'll certainly come back with more of these throughout 2021. I have to make sure I say the right year. So if there's any games that people want to see, certainly let us know. And we're happy to explore if this game is for you. That's what we hope to help you find. And ultimately, we want people to play more games in 2021. What was your phrase? More games in 2021?
More fun in 21.
More fun in that makes much more sense. that rhyme.
More games equals more fun, usually.
More games, more fun. Yeah. How about both? And I will say before we end, one of the neatest components in this is this dice tower that I don't know how functionally it works, but it looks good.
I have thoughts on the dice tower. I have several dice towers in my collection, and the one that came with Wingspan looks pretty cool. Anything that you have to build with cardboard is not always going to be perfect in terms of fitting, things like that.
No.
And the one thing I don't like about that dice tower is that you have to feed the dice from sort of behind. Most dice towers, you drop dice in from the top and they roll out. But yeah, turn it around there. So it is a bit awkward, especially because the dice in this game are actually really big. They're a lot bigger than your standard.
They're really chunky. Yeah.
Yeah, they're chunky.
To give perspective, actually, which I can. I don't know how well that shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can see this is, yeah.
So Wingspan is one of the few games I own that I have some upgraded components for, thanks to my awesome wife who got them for me as a gift during my 40th birthday celebration. And you don't need them because this game already comes with really good components. But man, these upgrades are, I got to show you the dice tower. This is right there.
Well, now you have to. I'll note that you can kind of see it behind me right there, but the Everdell tree is sitting there, which is the piece of cardboard that I will never take apart from Everdell. Never.
So this is from, I believe, a company called ShipShape makes these inserts. So I won't show you the whole box. My Wingspan box is full of little wooden boxes like this filled with the different food tokens and eggs and all that. But this is the dice tower that came with it. And it's just so nice and etched in here. And this little guy moves when you put the dice in. He goes, boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I know.
Nice.
I'm a nerd, but I love it. It's so fun. It makes such a great sound.
See my Scythe collection and we'll talk. Look, thank you to everyone for joining us today. Like I said, I just want to welcome everyone aboard here, the Tabletop Express. It's always great when I get to chat with Anthony. So please make sure you subscribe to both our channels. As I've said on previous videos, we just want to hit 100 so we can brand our darn channels. This number after our name is awful, and we want to reach as many of you as possible with the content that we're trying to put together here in 2020.
Even if you never want to hear us again, just subscribe. You don't even have to listen to the videos. You can put them on and put it on mute, put it in the background. whatever it takes.
Hopefully they want to listen. But I want to thank you. So yeah, definitely go hit that like and subscribe, and we'll be back with more of these if this game is for you segments as we go on in the year. And if there's one you want to see us do, please let us know in the comments, and we'll be happy to try and put that together for you. With that said, thanks for joining us. And again, welcome aboard the Tabletop Express.
Bye all.